Hi guys, just wanted to do another video about finding missing angles. So we are still going to be using some of our vocab from yesterday. We are going to be using vertical angles as well as adjacent angles. But today I want to introduce two new vocabulary words for you. So this first one here is complementary angles. And all of these are in your notes section as well. So if you open up your document for today, all of these vocab words are there. If they look a little bit small to you, you can find them there. But it has complementary angles are two angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So when you add them up, they will add up to make a right angle. Supplementary angles is our next definition. And it is that there are two angles, and when you add them up, they add up to 180 degrees. So we are going to incorporate these as well as our algebra equations from yesterday. So this is our first example. And I want you to think, I'm going to ask a question here. Should we be using complementary or supplementary angles to find this? So I'll give you a moment to answer. Complementary or supplementary? All right. And on this one, you actually, by definition, should have chosen neither. The reason it's neither is in the definition here is it says there are two angles that add up. And what we're actually looking for here is three different angles. So you are right in noticing that they should add up to 180 degrees, which is part of the supplementary definition. However, it's not two angles that add up. So I'm going to turn this into an equation here. I have a 97 degree angle. My board's sliding. I have a 36 degree angle. I also have angle B, and I want it to add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to mark where I can combine some like terms, but I want you to choose which terms should I combine to help solve my next step. All right, so you should have picked my two numbers, my two constants, my 97 and my 36. And again, if we're not so great at adding these, we could do a little bit of work on the side. I guess I'll do over here. 97 plus 36, I'm going to go ahead and stack them. 7 plus 6, I get 13. Carry the 1. The 9 and the 1 make a 10 with a 3. So those two angles together, even though they're not touching, add up to 133. So I'm going to make my equation a little bit easier. And I'm going to write that 133 degrees plus b equals 180. And from yesterday's video, we were doing one-step equations. So you should know from there that I need to subtract 133 from both sides. I'm going to subtract 133. Again, that's going to make these two items cancel, a positive 133 with a negative 133. It's going to leave me a positive b isolated by itself. Now I just need to do some subtraction. 0 minus 3 I can't do, so I'm going to need to borrow. That 8 becomes a 7, make that a 10. 10 minus 3, there's my 7. 7 minus 3 is 4, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So my angle over here, this angle here should be 47 degrees. So we were able to solve it with a one-step equation as well as combining like terms. All right, so example number 2. I'm going to put this up here. What I have here is I have a line, AB. I have a 40 degree, 36, a C, and then this one right here is telling me it's a right angle. So similar question as before, should I be using complementary or supplementary angles to find this? All right, you should have chosen complementary angles because if this angle here is 90, it means that these three items here should also be adding up to 90 degrees. So I would be writing this equation as 40 plus 36 plus C equals 90. Now do notice that I am dealing with a 180 degree angle. However, I already know that this chunk here is taken up by a right angle, so I really only need to use this half of the information. Okay, so the next step I want you to do is similar as above. I need to combine some like terms to make this a little bit easier, to make it look like a one-step equation. So where might I be able to pull these together to come up with combining like terms? So I'm going to give you a minute to choose which of these should I combine to make my next step easier. All right, hopefully you chose the 40 and the 36, not because they are in front, but because they're both numbers. And remember, numbers can add together, whereas numbers and letters can't. So again, I'm going to do a little bit of work on the side in case I'm not too strong at my math. 0 plus 6, I get 6. 4 plus 3 is 7. So altogether, those two make 76. I still have my C, and I still have my 90. I'm looking back at this. This is still the one-step equation that we've been working with since last unit. I want to subtract 76 from both sides. And I'm going to give you a minute to decide what you think the answer should be from here. All right, let's work it out and see if you got it right. Here, if I have a 0 minus 6, I cannot do, so I'm going to borrow, make that an 8 and make that a 10. 10 minus 6, I should get 4. 8 minus 7, the answer should be 14, which looking at this angle right here, it does look like a pretty acute angle, so 14 visually does look like a reasonable answer. All right, so I have a third example here for us. And go ahead and wipe off some of my board. That way we aren't too far down. And my tape got stuck. All right, I'm just gonna borrow tape from this one. There we go. All right. So here is our last equation. And I saved this one for the end because it's a little bit more difficult than before. You're going to see an example like this on your work today as well. I still have 180 degrees here, and I'm going to ask a similar question as I did before. Should I be dealing with complementary angles or supplementary angles? Give you a minute to answer. All right, on this one, same as before, you should have chosen neither, because again, in the definition here, it's 2 angles, but if you did think about supplementary, because you saw it equaled 180, you are on the right track. So I'm gonna give myself a little bit of room here to write. There we go. All right, so looking at my picture here, I have an angle D, and I have a similar angle D. What that is telling me algebraically is that those 2 angles have the same mathematical value. So I could write it as it's shown to me, D plus 82 plus D will equal 180 degrees. So similar question as I've asked on the last 2 here. What are my combining like terms? Which 2 terms should I bring together because they are similar? Give you a minute to answer. All right, hopefully you picked that the 2 variables this time, both of the D's will come together. And this is actually going to look like what we did last unit with 2-step equations. So when I bring those 2 D's together, I can rewrite it as 2 D's added to 82 will give me that 180 degrees. Now I have to think about what are my 2 steps that I'm going to do next. Should I deal with my adding or should I deal with my multiplying and dividing? So what we've gone over is doing reverse PEMDAS and having to solve an algebraic equation by doing opposite order of operations. So I actually need to deal with this addition first and undo it by subtracting. So I'm going to subtract 82 from both sides. What that does is it gets rid of these, is my marker not working? It gets rid of these 2 here, but it leaves behind the 2D. When I do 180 minus 82, I already have them stacked. 0 minus 2 I cannot do, so I'm going to go ahead and call that a 7, make this a 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. I can't really borrow the 1 here because once I do, it puts it right up there anyway. So I have 17 minus 8, which is a 9. So 2 times some number is 98. And again, we don't want you to rely on math facts. We want you to actually undo the equation. To undo that, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. That's because 2 and D are actually multiplying each other. So when I divide, that will give me just my D by itself. 98 divided by 2, if we aren't sure of that, we always have space on the side. 98 divided by 2. 2 goes into 9 4 times. 2 times 4 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Bring down the 8. 2 goes into 18 9 times evenly. So my answer here should be 49. So what that means is that both of these angles over here are 49 degrees. So this should help build a little bit more foundation and a little bit more connection to last unit with why we were doing one-step and two-step equations. We are going to be working with unknown angles and trying to find out what their value is, but we are going to use it looking through the algebra lens. So we will continue working on this, but hopefully you're having a great day at math. And as always, email us with any questions or concerns. Thanks.